Hi guys, I just wanted to hop on and film this video. I know I'm not an expert on this and I certainly have a long way to go myself in terms of my response to my own privileges and to racism. So I'm not making this video claiming to know it all, but I do find it really important to not stay quiet, and I didn't feel right to have information and really strong feelings about what's going on at the moment and not speak up about it. I wanted to do some research and find some statistics that I found helpful to explain just how bad and deeply entrenched racism is all over the world. And so I want to present these statistics to you so that you can consider them, ponder on them as we continue to respond to racism. But firstly, I just want to say that I feel that it's so important that we cannot stay silent on this. I'm the first person to say that good acts should be done behind closed doors. We should not be going out to the world and posting about how we've helped. If we are helping, the only voices we should be uplifting are of those that we are helping, not our own. And so if you are donating, signing petitions, joining protests, having those uncomfortable conversations at home, then that's wonderful. And I truly believe that that should stay behind closed doors. We should not have to post how much money we've donated or share, oh, today I changed somebody's perspective. I don't believe that that is using our voices properly. I believe that that is then in danger of making it about us. However, what I do believe is that we shouldn't be staying quiet if we have a platform. And so in this day of social media, we all have followers, even if it's 2, 20, 200, 2,000, 2 million, all of us will have at least one follower. And so I believe that to stay quiet on our social media platforms, although you may believe it's justified, and I'm not telling you that you've not thought about it, I'm just saying think about it a little more, because we are all influencers. We don't have to be, Instagram models or YouTubers to have a platform. And I think it's of utmost importance right now to use that platform for good, because your silence to them could come across as complacency, could come across as though you don't really care. And even if that is not your intention, which I'm sure it won't be, or at least I hope it isn't, it comes across that way. And I think at some point we have to accept the fact that we have to suck it up and say, well, even if it means losing a few followers, having a difficult debate with a friend, speaking out and ruining my Instagram aesthetic, or whatever the reasons are that are stopping you from posting, I think we have to put this in the grand scheme of things. This is not a momentary issue. This is the last straw in centuries of patience from the Black community, where they have tried time and time again to express their pain, their trauma, tell the world that they're being oppressed, and they continue to be put down. And so I don't want to know that in 40 years' time, if somebody asks me what I did to help, I don't want to say, oh, I didn't really do anything because it was a bit uncomfortable for me. And so I'm not making this video to try and guilt trip. I'm just saying, if you're yet to speak out, or if you're yet to speak out on social media, or if you're yet to take action at all, just keep addressing those questions within yourself. What is it that's stopping you from doing that? Reach out to resources online. I will be linking a few that I found really helpful below. So, if you're still at a loss there are thousands of resources out there. So take a look at those. And it's not the Black community's responsibility to tell us how we should respond to this, because at the end of the day, I strongly believe that racism is wrong on every level. There is not a justification for it. No. And you can argue with me all you want, but there is no justification for racism. And so the community who has felt that oppression and felt the trauma of racism do not owe us any favours by saying this is how you should respond. Spend time chatting and learning and use that to propel forward and use your voice. So I just want to begin by referencing a website I came across. It's called mappingpoliceviolence.org, and it takes a look at the police brutality and violence in the US. And just before people say, well, not all officers are bad, yeah, you're not wrong, not all officers are bad. However, racism is so deeply entrenched in the police force that even those officers that might not be the perpetrators themselves are willing to stand by and say nothing. I'm sure you heard it when you were in school. If you see somebody being bullied and you stand by and don't say anything, you're as bad as the bully. And this is what's going on. We have evident racism within the police force, and it's really horrifying to see. But those policemen who might not necessarily go out and intentionally racially profile the black community, use force against the black community, they're willing to stand by and let the other officers in their department do that, and that really doesn't make them any better. So that's just a little thing to consider before I reference this website, because I know that there will be a lot of people who will say, well, this is mapping police violence, but not all cops are bad. So just consider that. Firstly, there were only 27 days in 2019 where the police did not kill someone. 27 days in 2019. And black people were 24% of those killed, despite only being 13% of the population. The rate at which they're being killed is way, way higher. Way, way higher. So much so that black people are 3 times more likely to be killed than white people, whilst also being 1.3 times more likely to be unarmed than a white person. So when you see these horrendous videos of police brutality where the police are saying, oh, he's got a weapon, and it turns out that when the footage is released that person was unarmed, not only are the police 3 times more likely to kill black people, most of the time when you watch the videos they're using the excuse of feeling threatened, but actually they're 1.3 times more likely to be unarmed than a white person. So straight away you can see the problem with how black people are profiled by the police. 99% of killings by police between 2013 and 2019 have not resulted in officers being charged with a crime. So 99% of those officers who have killed in the field or have harmed, assaulted, all of the horrendous things that we've been witnessing, 99% of those officers won't be charged. 99%. And finally, the one that really put it all into perspective for me was in 8 of the largest cities, so 8 of the largest police departments, police kill black men at rates higher than the average US murder rate. So there are officers on the street who are not being charged for these killings, but are actually killing more frequently than the murder rate itself. And so, yes, they might have a badge, they might have authority, but that authority has clearly gone AWOL. They are taking that to the extreme and harming the citizens that they are working with. And it is really, really disturbing to watch. Black people are continuing to be killed at a much higher rate than white people, and it is undeniable. The statistics might mislead you if you don't and dig a little bit deeper into the population percentages and look at these websites that I've stumbled across. Statistics can be misleading, but ultimately it is undeniable that black people are targeted at a far higher rate than white people. And even those white people who are killed are not being killed for their skin colour, and that is a really crucial thing to remember. So a lot of these black men are killed because they fit a description or because they look a certain way, whereas white people aren't killed because they're white. It is due to other circumstances. And there's just something else that I feel is important to address, is that racism is not just police brutality. police brutality is a horrendous and a really big part of racism, but it is not the only part. And so I am just going to quickly insert an image which I'm sure you've seen because it's been circulated a lot, but I really encourage you to read every single word on that image. Don't just skim over or scan it and presume that you've brought that information in. Read it, because it's really quite challenging, and you realise that even if unintentionally you might have perpetuated racism in your own life in some way, because white privilege is undeniable. So I'm just going to insert that now. Pause the video, screenshot, whatever you have to do, and really read over that image. In response to people who have been saying that rioting and looting and violence are not the answer, I don't think anybody would want to resort to that level of violence and destruction. It isn't pleasant to watch. However, this has come after centuries of peaceful protests. And again, it's really convenient to forget that most of our human rights, so women got the vote because suffragettes threw hatchets at cars of MPs and threw firebombs, and there were the Stonewall riots led by a black trans woman who propelled the LGBTQ movement forward. Sadly, majority of our basic human rights have been gained and had to have been gained through riots and looting, because people don't want to listen. Those in charge, those with privilege, are quite happy to let the world tick on as it is. So to gain their attention, sometimes that has to happen. And in terms of violence, we as the white community don't have the authority to tell the black community how to express their anger. They have dealt with systemic oppression for centuries. If you put into perspective that slavery was abolished in 1865, and yet now the black community is still being targeted because of their race. And in the 1960s, the civil rights movement was peaceful when led by MLK, but he was assassinated. And so peaceful protests clearly don't work. And so what else are people desperate to be heard and recognised and have their human rights acknowledged? What else are they meant to do? Because these white people in charge are certainly not going to get off their backsides and change the situation. So they need to get our attention in some way possible. And I don't think now is the time to be pointing blame at the protesters. We should be pointing blame at the people who have made them feel like this is the last resort. And so I'm going to end the video there. I know that's probably a lot to take in, and so I will, as I said, link things down below so that you can research further. Please do not stop talking about this. We have a habit as a society to latch on to a cause and make it our fight and our focus for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and then let it fizzle out. And nobody's saying that you have to drop everything and make yourself miserable in this cycle of horrendous news and videos, but equally trying to stay positive does not mean ignoring the situation. As a human being, you should feel horrified at what's going on and feel compelled to make a change. So yeah, I will, as I said, link things down below and leave some resources that I have found helpful. This is a difficult situation, and so now more than ever we need to come together to tackle it. If you are struggling to formulate an opinion on this, if there are things that you disagree with in this video, then feel free to reach out to me. I feel very strongly about this situation, but I'm open for conversations. I think that is really important in the education process, is having open conversations with your peers, and know that it is okay and it's not embarrassing to change your opinion. So if you have been somebody who has said, well, all lives matter, or I don't believe that I have white privilege, I'm not racist, so I'm not part of the problem, it's okay to educate yourself and turn around and say, you know what, actually there are things I can change, because I've had to do that. If you'd have asked me 4 years ago, I would have said to you, I'm not a racist, I don't hate black people, and I would have meant it, but I also would not have seen an issue in the All Lives Matter posts. and maybe felt a bit awkward about confronting my friends to not to start an argument. And so in the grand scheme of things, I am not carrying a gun and being a vigilante and gunning down black men, women and children, but I was perpetuating racism in my everyday life, and I still have a way to go. However, this is what I mean about education and having open conversations. So if you feel awkward because of the opinions you hold and you want to talk to somebody about it, feel free to drop me a message. I have my social medias linked, just message me, because I want to have these conversations. I don't feel like it's good enough to be silent between each other. We should be having open conversations, and it's certainly not good enough to be silent on our platforms. So yeah, take care everyone, and don't give up. See you in another one soon.